How's it going, everybody? Welcome to The Critics. My name is Tony Gonzalez, and I love movies more than Joni loves Chachi. Today, we're talking about Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Star Wars: The Last Jedi is finally here. This long-awaited sequel to the mixed-reviewed Force Awakens is here. And the verdict is... it was alright. It was just alright. Just so you know, this review today is going to be full of spoilers. So as of right now, spoiler alert is in effect. Let me start off with the things I liked. I really like some of the scenes in this movie. For example, that scene where Laura Dern, the chick from Jurassic Park, turned that ship around and flew it at light speed into the First Order ships. That was awesome. Possibly the best scene I've seen in any Star Wars movie ever. Also, the fight scene with Kylo Ren, Rey, and Snoke's Red Guards was extremely awesome. There were a couple things I had issues with, but we'll touch on that a little bit later. But overall, that entire scene was spectacular. Also, I really like the explanation of Rey. I know a lot of people were divided on this, but I like the fact that she came from nobody. You know, The Force Awakens kept teasing that there was going to be this big reveal of who she was going to be related to. Is she going to be a Kenobi? Is she going to be a Skywalker? Is she going to be a Solo? We didn't know. But for them to not have her be anybody, that to me proved a lot of different things. First, it showed that anyone can be Force sensitive. You don't have to be related to anyone, which is something that we learned in the prequels. They had all these kids. They weren't all the son of Obi-Wan Kenobi. They weren't all related to Qui-Gon Jinn. No, they were just kids who were Force sensitive. This further showed that. I also like that despite Kylo Ren killing Snoke and fighting the Red Guard, he still remained the bad guy. This whole movie kind of started to frustrate me towards the beginning because it kept seeming like he was going to turn to the light side. And that was just too much of a Return of the Jedi type of feel to it. So I like that, yes, he turned on his master, but then at the end, he just wanted Rey to join him and to further just rule the galaxy. But of course, she stayed strong, being the true hero of this, or heroine of this franchise. So I thought that was really well as well. Now let me talk a little bit about some of the things I really didn't like. Now, I've had a lot of people tell me that I was wrong for saying this, but I didn't like Luke. At all. I was so excited when I heard that Mark Hamill was going to be coming back reprising his role as Luke Skywalker. He was one of, if not my favorite character from the original trilogy, but this movie took his character and everything that it stood for 3 movies and just kind of threw it over his shoulder with his lightsaber. Which that scene in itself just was so annoying to me. It was supposed to be this comical thing, but I hated it because it didn't have the emotional toll that it should have. You know, he had lost that lightsaber when he lost his hand fighting his father for the first time. When he found out his father was his father. It was such a big scene. Such a big part of the Star Wars as a culture. And he just throws it behind him. And I hated that. And they made it like a funny thing. And that kind of, it irked me like Thor Ragnarok irked me with all the serious scenes that ended up just being tossed aside for comic release. It drove me absolutely insane. Now, I also didn't really like how they handled Carrie Fisher in this movie. Princess Leia is an iconic member of the Star Wars family, obviously. And when Carrie Fisher died, it was a tragedy. But in many interviews, they had said that they were not going to CGI Leia after this movie, after she passed away. And that was good. She deserved better than that. So it was really frustrating that they just kept letting her live. Now here's the thing. She's proven through all these years that Princess Leia is going to continue to fight. No matter how old she gets, she's not going to retire. She's not going to pull some cheesy Paul Walker from Fast and Furious 7 and just suddenly decide one day that no matter how many times he gets pulled in, he's just going to suddenly walk away and never get pulled in ever again. An argument for a different day. Anyway, Leia has proven that she is going to continue the fight no matter what. And by them continuing to bring her back to life and continuing to let her live through this entire movie, it kind of tarnished her name, because now what are they going to do with her? Are they going to kill her off screen? Are we going to just see on a scroll that she died and that the resistance is under arrest? That might be what happens, but I don't think that that's really the right way to go. I feel like they should have taken her, and even if they would have had her live through what was actually a very cool use of the Force by pulling herself back in. And it was good to see Leia use the Force, considering that she is strong and has been using the Force for at least 30 years now. But they could have found a way in there to kill her. So one way or another, she could have, once she got back in and we saw that awesome use of the Force, she could have succumbed to her injuries and died from there. But no, now she's on the Millennium Falcon. The movie's over. There's nothing afterwards. And she's alive. And we're all left a little wanting. And don't get me wrong, it's a very sad tragedy that Carrie Fisher died, but they just kind of ruined the character. I don't like that. Now, when it comes to this fight with Kylo Ren, Rey, and Snoke's Red Guards, I want to break this down a little bit. Let me start with some of the positives. First off, I like how they have been transitioning the lightsaber fights in these two last movies with Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. Now, in the prequel trilogy, we saw these beautifully choreographed, high-speed action fight scenes. And they made sense because these were all Jedi and Sith who had been trained from a very young age to fight with lightsabers, to go very, very fast, very fluid, to be able to do things unimaginable. 20 years later, we have a old man who doesn't move as fast as he used to. We have a machine who is half human, who doesn't have all the different strengths that he used to have when he was full human. And we have a boy who hasn't really been trained on how to use a lightsaber and really fight the way that we had seen before. Which brings us to this newest trilogy. I really liked in The Force Awakens, and it continues from here. It was very rough. It wasn't as slow as the fight scenes in the original Star Wars movies, but at the same time, it wasn't as fluid as the prequel trilogy either. It kind of showed an evolution. They don't have that intense training that they had from childhood, but they looked a little bit more like a smoother Luke and Vader, which is where these people learned how to fight. So I really do appreciate that. However, there is no plausible way that Rey should be able to have fought these guards and won. She should have died, or at least gotten really, really, really hurt in here. I'll say this. This is only the second time she has used a lightsaber in battle. The first time I accepted because Kylo Ren had been shot by Chewie prior to fighting anyone, and then before he fought her, he fought Finn, and while Finn got beat up pretty good, he got a couple good nicks in and kind of slowed Kylo Ren down a little bit more. By the time Rey got to him, he was half hurt, so she got the best of him. I made my peace with that. But when she is now facing these, I didn't count, it was like 6 or 7 of these highly trained guards who are supposed to be guarding the most powerful Force user that we know of, they're going to be good fighters. They're going to know how to fight people like Jedi, like people with Force-sensitive powers. And yet they all went out like a bunch of little punks with this girl who, unlike Kylo Ren, has no real fighting training, especially with a lightsaber? Are you kidding me? No. I don't think so. Not going to happen at all. Speaking of Snoke, I didn't like that they didn't do anything with him. He was the one character that I was hoping they were going to give even a 2-minute backstory as to what his issue is. How did he get the scars on his face? Why does he hate Luke so much? They could have easily described it in just a minute or two, come up with something. Luke was the one that made him all scarred up like that. Or even if it was a vendetta he had against the Skywalker family and it was someone that Anakin had previously scarred up like that. Anything. But nothing Absolutely nothing. Throwaway character. And we're going to have to wait for another movie because they're probably going to mention him in a spin-off or something. It's just, I wish they could have done a little bit more. He was supposed to be the big bad of this movie. And when you have a big bad like that, you got to give him a little bit of meat. He didn't need a lot. He didn't need a whole section by himself. But he needed something. I think it's funny that Poe committed treason. He started a mutiny, and everyone was just like, don't worry about it. Don't do it again. Bad Poe. Bad. No. No. No real consequence. He completely ruined everything, and it was just kind of brushed over. I didn't really care for that. I didn't like the whole transition of Finn and Rose. I like Finn. I liked him in The Force Awakens. I still liked him in this movie, but I thought his whole character arc was dumb. I thought Rose was an unnecessary character. That whole scene when they go to the gambling planet, I thought it was really off kilter, and I didn't appreciate it. I didn't understand it. It seemed like a completely different movie. The subplot didn't match even the feeling of what the main movie had going on, and I thought it was really just poorly placed, if nothing else. Maybe they could have used it at a different time, but right where they put it, it didn't make a lot of sense. Like, it didn't make sense for me that they had to completely leave and abandon their ship, fly across the galaxy to get this guy to break a code. Are you telling me that there is nobody in that entire starship of the Resistance that can crack a code? We've seen droids crack codes all the time. Where was R2-D2? He could open a door. Nobody could do it. They had to go across the galaxy. They had to abandon these friends that keep dying just to get somebody to crack a code? Come on, man. No. I don't accept that. I don't accept that. I am interested in seeing how the love triangle between Finn, Rose, and Rey now go, because when Rose kissed Finn, he looked very disinterested. You know, he's been obsessed with Rey for 2 movies now, and she's actually seemed like she's finally starting to come along, but Rose just kind of popped in out of nowhere and was like, gotcha! And I don't think that's going to go over very well for her, but we'll see what happens. There's a lot of unanswered questions in this movie as well. How was the First Order able to track the Resistance through warp speed? You know, that was a really big plot point, and then they just abandoned it halfway through the movie. They just left it and just pretended like it didn't matter and went away. Random. Where are the Knights of Ren? How did Rey know where on the planet this abandoned rebel base was going to be so she could save them? Why didn't Luke feel that Han had died? In The Empire Strikes Back, he could feel the smallest little change in them. He could feel when they were just in danger, and he couldn't feel when Han had died. I don't care how out of tune with the Force he was. There is no possible way he shouldn't have been able to feel that his best friend is dead. How did Rey get off of Snoke's ship when she was dropped off by Chewie? What happened when Rey led the TIE fighters away from the Resistance? Did she just double back, or did she destroy them? What happened? And why were the bomber ships so slow? Oh my gosh, I need to stop. It's just too much. I just can't do it. I can't do it. Overall, this movie wasn't the worst movie I've ever seen. It wasn't even the worst Star Wars movie I've ever seen. I'd give it a solid B-. You should definitely watch it for yourself. Come up with your own opinions. But for me, that's about where I sit, a B-. This is the way I rank the Star Wars movies at this point. If you don't agree with what I said, that's completely fine. I like to hear other people's opinions. Feel free to go ahead and comment at the bottom, and if you like this video, hit the like button, share it if you want, or just ignore me like most people do. Anyway, you guys have been a lot of fun. Thanks for watching The Critics. Have a good day.